Welcome to Insightful Inspiration, a place where we uncover the truths we often bury beneath years of experiences, memories, and silent longings. If you're here, it means you're seeking something more meaning, more clarity, perhaps even more healing. And if you've ever given your heart to someone who didn't return it in the way you hoped, this message is for you. I spent a large portion of my life in a pattern that initially eluded me. It was always me who made an effort. I was always the one who reached out, waited and waited for a gesture, a message, or simply a clue that the other person shared my deep concern. I believed that love was something that had to be earned, that the other person would eventually see my value and love me back if I gave enough of myself, waited long enough, and loved enough. I thought loyalty meant enduring the distance, the indifference, the silence. I thought patience would somehow transform a one-sided relationship into a shared mutual love. So I chased, I stayed, I hoped. I gave everything I had, even when all I received in return was confusion or emotional scraps. It didn't happen all at once, but slowly, quietly, I began to notice the toll it was taking on me. I would question my value when someone pulled away. I would blame myself when they grew distant, thinking I must have said something wrong or failed to be what they needed. I told myself that love is hard, and I believed that struggle was part of the package. I normalized feeling anxious, unloved, and unseen. But deep down, I was afraid of what it would mean if I stopped trying, afraid that if I didn't hold on, no one else ever would, that I would be forgotten, that I would be alone. And this fear doesn't just belong to the young. It follows many of us into the later seasons of life. After years, sometimes decades, of giving ourselves to others, whether in romantic relationships, marriages, or roles as parents or caregivers, we may reach a point where we realize we've forgotten how to love ourselves. We realize we've spent so long trying to be everything for everyone else that we've neglected our own emotional needs. We may look back at all the times we settled for less because we believed it was all we were worthy of. Or worse, because we were taught that love was meant to be endured rather than cherished. There is something profoundly humbling about recognizing that you have chased love, not because the other person was extraordinary, but because you felt unworthy of being loved without effort. That realization hits differently with age. It's no longer just about heartbreak, it's about years of shaping yourself around someone else's absence, of adjusting your life to make space for someone who never fully arrived. It becomes a reckoning with your past and a wake-up call to your present. When I finally stopped chasing, it wasn't out of anger or bitterness. It wasn't because I stopped loving them. It was because I finally started loving myself. And in doing so, I realized something profound. The love I thought I needed from them was really a reflection of the love I needed to give myself. I was projecting my unmet needs onto someone else, hoping they would fill the gaps I had ignored for so long. I thought they were the answer, when in truth, they were only the mirror. A mirror showing me where I was empty. A mirror showing me what I had abandoned within. Carl Jung, the renowned depth psychologist, said that we are often drawn to people who reflect parts of ourselves that we've lost, denied, or failed to develop. That what we think is love is sometimes just a recognition of something unresolved within us. When I read those words, I felt a jolt of understanding. I wasn't just falling for a person. I was falling for the part of me they awakened. Maybe it was my longing to be seen. Maybe it was my forgotten confidence. Maybe it was the belief that I am enough. But they reminded me of it, and I mistakenly believed they were the only way to have it. They weren't. They never were. The harsh reality is that we are frequently drawn to people who rehash our wounds in the hopes that we may eventually mend them, rather than those who compliment us. We believe it to be fate. We believe it to be fate. In reality, though, our subconscious is urging us to complete the task at hand, and asking, what if I stop chasing, can be frightening for many people, particularly those who have spent years satisfying others. What happens if I release them? What would I still be? And here is the most beautiful part. What's left is the beginning of your truth, the beginning of your healing. What's left is you, without distortion, without apology. When I finally let go, I began to see myself with clearer eyes. I wasn't weak for loving deeply. I wasn't foolish for hoping. I was simply human. And like all humans, I wanted connection. But I had confused connection with sacrifice. I had mistaken love for struggle. I had equated attention with worthiness. And in that confusion, I gave my power away. I spent nights wondering what I could have done differently, not realizing that the real question was, why did I think I had to earn someone's love in the first place? Why did I believe love meant holding on rather than letting go? Why was I so afraid of being alone with myself? It's in the quiet aftermath, in the space where the chasing ends, that you begin to meet yourself again. You learn to sit with your own thoughts. You learn to listen to your own needs. You begin to ask, what makes me feel whole, apart from anyone else? And that question is the gateway to freedom. Because once you realize you are enough without their love, you are no longer at the mercy of their presence or absence. You are no longer waiting for the text, the visit, the explanation, or the closure. You give it all to yourself. And here's the truth most of us come to learn, often later than we wish. Love that requires you to chase it is love that was never grounded in mutual respect. Real love stands still. It invites. It doesn't run. It doesn't confuse. It doesn't punish you with silence or make you question your value. Real love is gentle. It's patient. It's present. And it shows up without being asked to. When you stop chasing, you begin to attract. You attract peace. You attract clarity. You attract people who meet you where you are instead of making you stretch yourself thin just to feel worthy. And most importantly, you attract yourself, your truest self, the one you left behind when you believed you weren't enough, the one who has always been worthy of love, just as you are. You are not hard to love. You never were. You were simply giving your love to someone who couldn't hold it, someone who didn't recognize its weight, but now you do. Now you see yourself, and now you choose differently, because choosing yourself is not selfish. It is sacred. It is the foundation of every meaningful relationship that will come after. And whether you're in your 20s or your 70s, it's never too late to return to yourself, to stop the chase, to stop shrinking, and to begin living from a place of quiet, steady, undeniable self-worth. I see you if this message resonates with you, whether you've ever loved someone who didn't love you back, or if you're working on finding your peace, I respect you. Additionally, I encourage you to share your experience in the comments section. Why did you give up chasing? In the ensuing silence, what did you learn? Most importantly, what aspects of yourself have you come to appreciate?